For round 3 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship, we are at a damp and drizzly Donington Park. After sunshine of Alton Park and after glorious weather yesterday for qualifying, the weather gods have thrown a curveball at the teams. We're going to have a safety car start and potentially a weather-affected race. Now, if it starts to dry up, that's going to mean another factor to test the teams in terms of tyre choice and when to switch. Fingers crossed, however, we do get a break in the cloud, because you've got to say at the moment it looks pretty set in. 21 cars here across GT3 and GT4. It's the third race of the championship, the first of 2 today, and this, the longest one we will have had thus far at 2 hours duration. Race 2 later on in the day, the, if you like, traditional 1 hour British GT format. David Addison and Andy McEwen trackside, Kelvin Fletcher down on the grid. Sadly, not behind the wheel of a car, but behind a microphone, and we'll hear from him with some of the stars of the championship in due course. But what we have is a fascinating race in prospect. The car that's on pole position is already a winning car, the Jensen Team Rocket RJN McLaren. Michael O'Brien will start. It's the one that he shares with the world's fastest gamer, James Baldwin. Silver drivers both. And if you drive a McLaren and you are an all-silver driver combination, you're 50 kilos heavier here than you were at Alton Park. If you drive a Mercedes or a Lamborghini and you're a silver pairing, you're 30 kilos heavier than you were in Cheshire. But it doesn't really seem to have affected the pace of that McLaren hugely, because it was just unstoppable yesterday. And as you look down into the pit lane, the team's getting ready to send the cars out, one would hope, on a wet Pirelli tyre. But by the end of the race, in 2 hours plus time, it could be that a slick tyre is very much the choice. Now, James Baldwin, world's fastest gamer, very much the talking point of Alton Park. This is one of the few places he's raced at in the real world, in Formula Ford 1600. And after Alton Park, he reflected on life in the virtual world and the real racing world.
The world's fastest gamer is quite a statement of a name, isn't it? But effectively, I won a competition called World's Fastest Gamer, and that's how I've got the title. It doesn't necessarily mean I am. That's up for debate, but it's a cool title nevertheless. And I thought I had a chance of winning, because obviously the experience in karting helps. I learned a lot in the sim over the 3 years I was doing it. So I always went out there hoping to win, but then when you win it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of imposter syndrome, you know, is this really me or whatever? So it was a bit of a surprise, but I went out there to win, definitely. And 6 years ago, when I graduated from karting momentarily for one race, it was actually here. So in that respect, it's a little bit of an advantage compared to my experience at Alton, but it's an awesome track. It's a big step up. The guys in the team were saying that usually, like back in the day with the GT Academy guys, they went to GT4 then GT3 with a bit more testing as well. So I've had to kind of learn very quick, but I've enjoyed it, because I don't know, the bigger the leap, the bigger the reward. So it's going well so far, and hopefully it stays that way.
We will go racing this time around then. So we've got the cars coming now down through the Melbourne hairpin. They get themselves into formation, ready for the start, but of course the race underway. It's not like a rolling start, so they can effectively go nose to tail. We've got a slight inconsistency from the grid in as much as Richard Neary has got himself ahead of Stuart Proctor. There they are. The McLaren should be back ahead, and I think is going back ahead, which is sort of legit. I know you're not meant to overtake, but they are meant to be in grid order. That puts you back into the correct order of the grid. Right, so what is left? The balance of 2 hours of racing at Donington Park is about to get underway. GT3, GT4 cars blast away. Michael O'Brien leads then from Rob Collard as they dive down towards Redgate Corner for the third time. The first proper racing lap. Sam de Haan is third ahead of Ballon, Loggy, and then Lewis Proctor as they swing their way onto the top of the Craner curves. And there, Richard Neary says, well, I gave you your place back, but I'm going to retake it under racing conditions. He goes round the outside of Stuart Proctor as they hit the top of the Craner curves.
Down towards the old hairpin for the first time then. Michael O'Brien, championship leader, is the first to discover exactly how slippery the old hairpin is right now. They had that 15-minute warm-up session earlier on this morning, but conditions may have evolved since then. Michael Igoe in the WPI Motorsport Lamborghini, they had a brake problem in qualifying at Alton Park. That put them towards the back of the grid, and at such a tight circuit, they just never were able to regain that track position. So expect good things from the car that had quite a say in the outcome of the championship here towards the back end of last year. They weren't in the hunt for the championship, but they were in the lead battle, and they made their presence felt. Right now, Michael is filling the mirrors of Lewis Proctor in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, with the Bentley of Nick Jones catching them.
So Michael Igoe, the Cheshire driver, hustling on, trying to gain places as ahead of him. Look, the battle is on. 96, which is the Lewis Proctor, McLaren, comes out to have a go around the outside of number 6 there. That is Ian Logie, not quite losing out because all over the curb goes Proctor. That gives Michael Igoe a chance to go ahead of him. I go the right way, you go over the curb. So Lewis Proctor drops back and Michael Igoe gets into the top 6, then defends, look on the way down to the Melbourne hairpin. Nick Jones in the Bentley looking for a weight pass, and out wide there goes Sander Hahn, does he? No, it's Ian Logie, in fact, in the green Mercedes who runs out wide. So Ian Logie slithers wide. That gives Michael Igoe another chance to gain a place, but he's on the outside line into Goddard's, trying to go to the inside line. The McLaren, Lewis Proctor trying every which way as the leaders go by. 1 second splits O'Brien from Collard at the end of lap 1. Dehaan is 3rd, Ballon is 4th, and everybody else falling over themselves to be 5th. But Ian Logie has just hung on as they come over the timing line.
Yeah, Logie got it all wrong going into the Melbourne hairpin, locked the rear brakes, slid wide, did well to hang on to this 5th place, but Michael Igoe looks the raciest of this bunch, doesn't he? He's already managed to find a way past Lewis Proctor, and now he wants to break into the top 5, and he wants to do it quickly because already these 5 are some 3.6 seconds behind Adam Ballon in 4th, and they are over 7 seconds of the race lead. Again, Logie is wide at the old hairpin, but the wide line sometimes is where the grip might be. I'm not convinced he was out there intentionally though. That car doesn't look stable under braking. The Lamborghini looks to have more grip, but can it find a way through? At the moment the answer is no, but Michael Igoe looks really pacey in the early stages.
Just going back to GT4 for a moment, don't forget though that of course the top 2 in GT4 both get longer pit stops because of their successes at Alton Park. So Jamie Caroline's car that leads will get an extra 15 seconds, and then number 58 Patrick Mathiesen's car will get an extra 10. And he's under attack anyway now because right there behind him is Patrick Kibble, and you've also got James Kell on his tail also as they dive through Coppice. And where in all of this, there he is, Chris Westmail, and here Matt Cowley, who was racing in European GT4 a season ago. As I say, much underrated driver. Matt was an absolute gun in Formula 4 1600, went off to America to race there. If there were a proper budget behind him, he would have gone much, much further. As coming out of the chicane now through the S's, up the inside line, tries to go Patrick Kibble, and again he's got the inside line. Patrick Mathiesen moves across, he gives him racing room. Aston gets up the inside. Can the McLaren get the switchback? Where's the Toyota in all of this? Up the inside as well, but I think it's job done finally for Patrick Kibble. Note to self, Patrick, left, next corner, brake earlier. He's going to do it, I think this time we can finally say he's got the place, but not there, I'm afraid, Ian Logie, because he is in, Richard Neary is in strife in the ABBA Mercedes, a double rotation now up at Coppice.
Oh dear, they were running in 8th place. They were applying the pressure to Lewis Proctor. We saw them about half a lap ago, but unfortunately that battle is now put on ice.
Indeed so, and we're not far off that pit window, shepherding things up yet further as Michael O'Brien, Rob Collard, Sander Hahn covered by 7/10 of a second. Here in GT4, we have got James Kell up ahead of both of the HHC McLarens now, so he's taken another step forward. So you've got Caroline ahead of Kibble, ahead of Kell. This is the top 3 outright as they make the run up towards Goddard then, lap 22. And the leading car, Michael O'Brien, in his mirrors, sees Sander Hahn crawling all over the back of Rob Collard. Through they turn, out of the left-hander now of Goddard's up towards the timing line. Michael O'Brien, another of the young drivers that was picked up by McLaren's driver development programme a few seasons back, hanging on to the race lead to give this car over to James Baldwin. Going to be fascinating second stint to see how James gets on against more experienced real-world drivers. Comes with this big reputation after Alton Park, but Michael O'Brien likewise showing what he's capable of. Of course, the danger of being in GT4 on occasions, you get a bit overshadowed. Here in a GT3 car, you're running at the front, and he goes a little wide, maybe at the old hairpin that time, but he's still there, still clear, still leads.
It almost looked like as he turned in, the rear got a bit loose underneath him. You mentioned that car is heavier than those around it. Now, that won't necessarily affect your overall pace as much in the wet. The wet is, as they always say, a great leveller. But you are probably still working your tyres a bit harder because of carrying the extra weight. So you're able to go the same speed, but maybe those tyres, those Pirelli tyres, are starting to cry enough. They head back out of Coppice once again. The gap's pretty static for the time being. But Michael Igoe, again, was a full half a second or more quicker than them. The gap between 3rd place Dehaan and 4th place Igoe is now underneath, is now less than 6 seconds as we go back to the fight here for 5th place in GT4, and Chris Westmail and Matt Cowley in the Academy Mustang, which was on for a podium at Alton Park in race 1 before a spin up at Island Bend. Another team who feel that they are almost owed a good result this time around.
Interesting as well, isn't it, that Academy has switched from Aston Martin to the Mustang for this year. Had all sorts of problems in the European GT4 series last year with the Astons, and of course we saw how well the Multimatic run cars went in British GT4 a season ago, thinking Semprio amongst others, but Matt Nicol-Jones' team running the Mustang, and it's going well. Good grunty car. It will be handed over for the second stint of the race to Jordan Albert, very rapid single-seater gun, as there it comes up to have a go at the McLaren of Chris Westmail then. So the two HHC McLarens are together, but they're about to be split, are they? Matt Cowley up the inside line. Yes, he might even get two of them here because he's run 57 out wide to get the place. 58 goes wide as well. Can the big, powerful Ford Mustang get itself ahead? Not quite. On the inside line there, look, Patrick Mathieson hangs on to it. Richard Neary dive bombs all of them. The Mustang's off the road. And out of all of that, it's 57, Chris Westmail, that gains 2 places. Now, we've had, as we've said, Adam Ballin into the pit lane. Is Rob Collard going to stay out for one more lap? He might, if he's not careful here, be forced to. If he gets himself on the outside line of Nick Jones' Bentley, he's going to have to go round again. Well, the Bentley pits then, so Nick Jones in to give way, and so also Sam Dehaan. Now, this again is going to be very interesting indeed, because that's giving the quick Kujala one extra lap over Sandy Mitchell. 10-second success penalty here for Dehaan, which is 5 seconds less than the 78 Lamborghini, and he was 3.6 seconds back when they came in. So this could be the car that emerges with the race lead, but as you say, it will be Patrick Kujala in the car. Michael O'Brien is in to hand over the Jensen Team Rocket RJN McLaren to James Baldwin. And as the McLaren heads into the pit lane, a very busy place because there is still a bit of overlapping here, I think, with GT4 and GT3 pit stop. Speaking of GT4, the race leader coming past a battle for position, is that? No, 95 is Patrick Kibble, and the 58 McLaren in front is Jordan Collard, having made a pit stop, so they're on different laps, but that was a busy bit of racetrack for Rob Collard, and on what could be his in-lap, that might have cost him another second. That could make all the difference. Amazingly, we've not had a car in real strife, have we? Despite the conditions, with the exception of the late starting McLaren, everybody has been able to survive. We've had 1 or 2 off the road. I know I'm tempting fate to say this, however, they've got away with it. And there is Rob Collard, who is heading for the pit lane. Finally, he's in. Sandy Mitchell is ready, and surely it is going to be wet now, as we fear. Yeah, I think so. Looks, yes, it is. Yeah, groove wet tyres, the Pirelli wets. As we said, just under 30 minutes left. Caldarelli is now less than a second behind Sandy Mitchell. He's less than 7 seconds behind the race leader. He's quicker through the S's as well, and gets a good run on the 78 car down to the Melbourne loop. Mitchell will move over to defend. No, he won't. Leaves the door open on the inside. Now, is he letting him go, or is he looking for the grippier side of the road? It might be the former, actually, because Caldarelli made that look quite easy. Mitchell does get the better exit with the wider line in. It won't matter, actually, for 78 whether they finish second or third in this race. They will still, as it stands, take the championship lead away from the team, the Jensen Team Rocket RJN car, which now in the hands of James Baldwin has fallen down to 6th place overall. So third place would still be enough for 78 to take over the points lead going into race 2 later on this afternoon. And of course, if they finish third in this race, they spend less time in the pit lane in race 2, and it's a shorter race, hard to come back from that pit stop penalty. Now, we have the second place car, Andrea Caldarelli at the wheel, Michael Igoe perhaps looking forward to a maiden victory. Let's see, let's hear his thoughts. He's with Kelvin Fletcher.
Hey guys, I'm here with Michael Igoe. Michael, like myself, you're a bronze driver, but in that stint there, you were absolutely terrific. I think your pace for a good segment of the race was up there beyond the silver drivers, so you must be happy with that stint.
Yeah, really happy. It was the car was great. It was good driving out there. It seemed real technical conditions. It was all on different lines, obviously, in the drive, but we found the pace we needed, and we went up 5 places before the pit stop, so it was good.
Now, obviously, your teammate Caldarelli is on an absolute flyer. He's just taken, I think, second place, I believe.
Yeah, he's up to second now. He's just past Sandy Mitchell, so hopefully we'll head first place now. We'll definitely try and bring it home the best we can.
Now, you said before when I came to you, you said, "Oh, Kelvin, I'm a little bit nervous behind camera," but I've got to say, mate, you're just as good on camera as you are in the wetty car. So whatever you're doing, mate, keep it up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Kelvin. They're going to get 5 more laps out of this, I would predict, as they come now onto the top of the Craner curves. If Patrick Kujala has never driven a wide car before, this is the time to do it. That thing has got a growing width. Andrea Caldarelli will be eyeing up where the Mercedes is strong, where he's got the advantage, where the extra grip is as well, where there's a bit more scope in terms of more dry room along the racetrack's width as there. They go through Schwant's curve. We are on lap 63, 0.2 of a second between the top two, 10 minutes of 2 hours of racing to go, and the top two absolutely together as Caldarelli now starts to plan the move, which will begin coming out of Coppice.
The last time we covered a British GT race together, David, was Silverstone last year, and we had a similar situation involving a Ram Racing Mercedes trying desperately to get a race win in the dying moments. That day they were racing against Johnny Adams in the TF Sport Aston Martin. They are defending the lead here from Caldarelli, and the problem I think Kuyala will have is that we know where the Lamborghini is quicker. It's the final sector, and that's where you do the overtaking. The big stop into Melbourne, the big stop into Goddard, traction off the tight corners. Here we go into the Melbourne hairpin, but Kuyala is wise to it and defends the inside line.
But the Mercedes should be good out of the slow corners because it's got all that torque. The Lamborghini is good on aero, and here it is. Look, it's quick out of the corner. Caldarelli will get his nose in front on the outside line. Kuyala defends the inside line, but even if he gets the lead here, he's going to run out a little bit wide. Caldarelli gets the switch back. He's going to fire the gun alongside him, but that's the outside line for Redgate. Now here, nice long fast pit straight. Can that very svelte Lamborghini get its nose in front to take the race lead going into Redgate? We start lap 64. Caldarelli was ahead by 14,000, so he has led the race, but he's on the outside line. He's going to keep on coming, and he's done it. Fantastic move. Right round the outside goes Andrea Caldarelli to lead British GT at Donington Park. He deserves that. He worked oh so hard for it, but Kuyala has not given up yet. Sam de Haan comes out to be interviewed. Kuyala's car looked for the inside line, but Caldarelli has done it, and now he should be able to stay there. What a stint.
If Kuyala's going to come back at him, it has to be before the final sector, doesn't it? That's why he was so desperate to get to the inside. Look how much better he is on the brakes into McLean's. Sails into the corner, but on the tight line on the entry, he's slower off the corner. Yes, the Mercedes has low-end grunt and torque off the tight corners, but it's just the traction that Lamborghini has. So much more grip, it gets the power down better, and that is ultimately how he made that stick. It took him the best part of a third of a lap to do it, but he did eventually find himself on the grippier line into Redgate, and now he is starting to get away.
So disappointment for Sam de Haan. He is, however, chipper enough to talk to Kelvin.
Sam, the Lamborghini was catching, and unfortunately for you guys, it's just had you on that lap there.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, the Pro-Am Lambo runs a little bit lighter than us. They're a bit better on the tyre here. I think we had a really good race anyway. I had a really good stint, really clean stint behind the Lambo and the McLaren. Got lucky, I think Michael made a mistake. So, you know, it's not too bad. We're still leading the silver class. It's the best we can hope for at the moment, I think.
Yeah. I thought it was a mega stint that you had first. I think, you know, you was up from third there and attacking the whole stint. And obviously when you always pass over to the teammate, there's always that chance there for opportunities to arise. Obviously, I looked like a clean pit stop that you guys had, so that was good. And then just sadly, as I mentioned, it's just the last couple of laps there, you seem to have been picked, but still in the game. I think 5 or 6 minutes left and still all to play for.
I think it was a bit of an odd start because the two McLarens behind me were in the pits for some reason, I'm not sure why. So there's a bit of a gap, and I think the front three of us checked out a little bit. So it's just kind of biding my time. The Merc's really, really good on the tyres here, like end of the stint, last 10 minutes. So I tried to take advantage of that. I think if there was 10 more minutes, we might have just done the Lambo for the lead, but we got him in the pit stop because of the success penalty. So all around is a clean stint. I couldn't ask for any more than that.
Well, keep your fingers crossed. It's still time yet.
Cheers, thank you.
This is the race-leading car down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Andrea Caldarelli has just done the absolute best in the middle sector as the road dries towards the end. Suddenly we're going green and purple all over the timing screen here as up towards the checkered flag comes Andrea Caldarelli. So Michael Igoe started and did a great job. Alan Roberts' team is going to have a first win within the British GT Championship. Michael Igoe and Andrea Caldarelli victorious at Donington. Round 3 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship is won by Andrea Caldarelli and Michael Igoe. Second, Patrick Kuyala and Sam de Haan. They are the winning Silver Cup contingent as well. Third is going to be a very close run thing, but Yelmer Berman and Ian Loggy will just survive ahead of the Phil Keane, Adam Ballon Lamborghini. If Adam hadn't been off the road at the Melbourne hairpin, you could argue that would have been that place, but as it was, Phil Keane is 4th and sets the fastest lap of the race. 5th will go to to Sandy Mitchell rather, and Rob Collard. 6th was trading all the way through. In the meantime, we await the GT4 cars home, and they are in the queue still to come pouring out of the left-hander of Goddard's. And this is the car that will win in GT4, number 95 then. So Conor O'Brien and Patrick Kibble, really good, solid job done by both of them. Excellent driving by both, excellent teamwork. Now, it's all got battles to be resolved here, look, because Sam Neary is going to be 6th. He'll fend off Jack Mitchell for 7th. With all the time lost in the early dramas of Jordan Witt, makes you wonder what that car could have done as well. But it is Sam and Richard Neary for 6th, 7th for Jack Mitchell and Jordan Witt. A win in GT4 for Conor O'Brien and Patrick Kibble. 2nd will go to this car of Dan Vaughan and Jamie Caroline. And then the question is, who's going to be 3rd? Because it is the Toyota that comes out of Goddard's, the Speedworks run Toyota. The GR Supra GT4, GR for Gazoo Racing, takes 3rd in class. Andrea Caldarelli and Michael Igoe win the first of 2 races here at Donington in the Intelligent Money British GT Championship from Patrick Kujula and Sam DeHaan. Ian Loggy 3rd with Yelmer Berman ahead of Phil Keane and Adam Ballon. Having led the bulk of the race, it felt like, or certainly the middle third, Sandy Mitchell and Rob Collard take 5th ahead of Sam Neary and Richard Neary's Mercedes 6th. 7th for Jordan Witt and Jack Mitchell. From Michael O'Brien and James Baldwin, then Ollie Wilkinson and Lewis Proctor with 10th, Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin. Scott Malvern and Nick Jones next, and in the 13th place, the first of the 2 TF Sport Aston Martins that wins in GT4. Conor O'Brien and Patrick Kibble ahead of Dan Vaughan and Jamie Caroline. 3rd in GT4 for the Toyota of the Speedworks Motorsports squad, that being Sam Smelt and James Kell coming home in 15th place overall.
Michael, your first race win, what a way to do it.
Yeah, in style, to be fair. We had a great race. We came up 5 places in my position, and then over to Andrea. What a job. Just brought it all the way.
Andrea, the Lamborghini looked absolutely terrific, especially in the 3rd sector. That's where you looked really, really strong and was gaining on the Mercedes. Was for you, was it expected? Did you know that it was just going to come to you, that position, and it was just about biding your time and being patient?
Well, I mean, we know that the Huracan is always quick in the wet. We have a very good confidence with the car. I didn't know after the pit stop, honestly, where I was more or less in terms of position. Then when I saw the Barwell car and the Mercedes in front, I said, okay, we have to do it. And Michael did an amazing job at the first stint, so we had to do for the team. The guys were amazing of the WPI, and really thanks to them and to the Lamborghini Scuola Corsa for the fantastic car.
Patrick, GT4 winners today. It looked like a pretty good stint for you. There was no real incidents or anything like that. Your pace looked good in that first stint. How did you feel?
Yeah, well, starting 5th on the grid. Honestly, it was just like a matter of keeping it clean, lasting the whole hour on the track, and obviously making up the places. I came into the pits in 2nd, but yeah, literally I was having to close the gap to Jamie because he brought out a massive gap for like the first half of the stint due to me being behind the others. But yeah, I managed to close that down, and then coming into the pits, obviously we didn't have the success penalty in the pits like the other car did, so we managed to capitalise on that. And yeah, we came out ahead on track after for Connor's stint. And yeah, he did a great job to keep the gap the same as it was. So happy for it, yeah.
Because obviously the conditions today were changing quite a lot. For a moment there, it looked like it was maybe going to go dry and there was potentially for slicks, but obviously you stayed on the wets, and it was just about managing those tyres towards the end. I guess the car was changing throughout the balance of the car?
Yeah, the balance was changing every lap, and it was just trying to find like the drying line where it wasn't too greasy, just staying out of trouble really. But Patrick done a mega stint, so made my life easy, which is always nice.
Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to Donington Park, where round number 4 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship is only a few minutes away. Those of you who joined us this morning for round number 3 of the championship were treated to a proper GT race, with weather conditions throwing all sorts of challenges at the teams and drivers, and really opening up some strategy options that we don't often see. There are wet tyres going on to the 18 car, so WPI Motorsport fitting the wet Pirelli tyres. They've made their decision. There was some thought that since the pro drivers are starting the cars in this race, so Andrea Caldarelli will take the first stint for the WPI squad. maybe they would go for slicks. I don't think they have the ability to change the tyres on the grid either, so this is the decision that they must stick with. 97 car will start from 4th on the grid in GT4, and looks as though they're probably on wets as well. The second race of the day here from the spectacular Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Remember, the top 2 cars on the grid, Joe Osborne and Scott Malvern, are on slick tyres. The first of the wet shod cars is Sandy Mitchell from 3rd, who is still there on the 3rd on the grid, the black Lamborghini. Here we go then, into the unknown we venture once more. Away they go, Joe Osborne is slow away, Sandy Mitchell tries to get up the inside and cannot do it. Neck and neck between the 2 slick shod cars into Redgate corner. The drier line is on the outside, and that is exactly the line that Scott Malvern will try to use to get the lead away. Through Redgate they go, he's done it, the Bentley's through, and there's almost contact there. Around the outside went Phil Keane, side by side with Joe Osborne. They're 3-1, it's not Phil Keane, it is Jelmer Berman in the Ram Racing Mercedes. Osborne going backwards here. What a jumbled order we have already. The 2Cs car charging through. Jack Mitchell there, we don't know the other one, is it 9 that is, coming through towards the front of the field. Down into the old hairpin they go. Well, the Bentley holds on to the race lead. Joe Osborne rather muscled out of it there through Redgate corner. All things considered, David, quite lucky to get through that without significant contact.
Interesting that the McLaren on slicks has dropped back. The Bentley on slicks got the advantage. So Joe Osborne seemed to be struggling for traction in a way that the Bentley wasn't. And it is number 10 McLaren in 2nd place, Jack Mitchell. So he's up from 7th on the grid into 2nd place because number 9 is a pit starter. But look at the way that Scott Malvern is getting away already. So you've got them, a car on slicks ahead of a car on wet. McLaren is a wet shod car. Now there is Joe Osborne, 36, losing out as they drop down towards the S's. Against him is Sandy Mitchell. So the Lamborghini on the wet tyres goes through, but right now Scott Malvern doing a brilliant job on slicks on the opening lap of the race.
Yes, I wonder whether maybe Jack Mitchell in seconds on wet, because he had a lot of confidence on the wet side of the road through the Craner curves to charge through from 7th on the grid into 2nd spot halfway around the first lap. Here we come then, 1 lap about to be in the books, and you can see that 2Cs Motorsport McLaren is closing in on Scott Malvern, the race leader for Team Parker Racing. The order at the end of lap 1 bears very little resemblance to the way in which they started the race a lap ago. Across the line they go. Bentley leads once more in the British GT Championship.
So the McLaren and the Mercedes on wets, as we know, and they brought the gap down sufficiently to prove that even though slicks might be good, they're not as good as the wets right now. So the gamble has been chosen by Team Parker Racing on Scott Malvern, but it's not paying off just yet because the McLaren goes through. So that is Jack Mitchell, 7th to 1st in a lap and a couple of corners, and now Jelmer Berman lines up to have a dive and will go through. The road is drying, you can see that, but it's not yet drying quickly enough. It's not very windy out there, it's not that warm out there. It's taking a long time for the track to dry.
Yes, but I think it'll get there. This is short-term pain for long-term gain, I think, for those on slick. Scott Malvern already at this part of the circuit looks as though he's got the pace to come back at Jelmer Berman. Sandy Mitchell there in the leading Silver Cup, no, the 2nd place Silver Cup car, the 78 Barwell Lamborghini. 5th place in race 1, 4th place at the moment on wet tyres as well. Here you can see Malvern looks now quicker. He's attacking Jelmer Berman again down the back straight, just like that. Within half a lap, it started to flick back the other way. The Bentley on the outside line, but on the wet tyres, on the wet side of the road, Berman had more confidence under braking and fends him off.
So slick tyres not working as well as wet. That's the evidence.
Yes, but I think through the old hairpin and up through McLean's and Coppice, they are working better every lap. That's where the Bentley of Malvern and the white McLaren there of Joe Osborne close in on Sandy Mitchell. Through this part of the circuit, though, it's a bit damper, and he scoots back away again. No one, though, really is escaping at the front here, are they? Jack Mitchell leads the way by a second at the line over Jelmer Berman. I think Jelmer's caught him on this lap. And here, one of the cars that was contesting the race win, 69, the Ram Racing Mercedes, 2nd place in race number 1. They've dropped down the order here slightly. James Baldwin right behind them trying to come through. That is the scrap for 7th place.
Fastest middle sector of anybody, backing up your point, Scott Malvern. So he's done the absolute best in that run from the approach to the old hairpin all the way around to the approach to the S's. As you look at the GT4 fight, 97 there, getting up on the inside line. Dan Vaughan going ahead of Conor O'Brien, so a switch for third in GT4, behind Jordan Collard, who is 2nd, and behind Sam Smelt, former British Touring Car Championship racer, who leads in the Speedworks Toyota at the moment. Back on the inside line, though, there, Dan Vaughan fending off to keep the place. Conor O'Brien, his teammate, and Jordan Albert, the impressive young British driver, next up in the mighty Mustang.
And Dean McDonald catching them in the GT3 2Cs McLaren. Scott Malvern back into third place now at the part of the circuit where the slick tyres are working. He's got past Sandy Mitchell, who's sliding. He's got no rear grip under acceleration. And through goes Joe Osborne as well. So Joe Osborne follows him through, takes advantage of the slide from the Lamborghini. 2 places lost for Sandy Mitchell, and off the road, just as I was saying nice things about him, goes Dean McDonald spinning away. Well, it wasn't a strong position that he was in, but he was coming through on those slick tyres, which will have no purchase on that wet grass.
No, he's going to struggle to get off there, which might be a drama for those in race control, so we need to keep an eye to that. Jack Mitchell, though, getting away from Yelmer Berman as Dean McDonald struggles and struggles and struggles to get the car off the grass. Wherever he is, he's somewhere through the Craner curves, I guess. Now there, look to the outside line, Sam Neary having a go at Sandy Mitchell, who is falling away, despite the fact that that's a car on wet. Where in all of this is Phil Keane, because he's on slicks and he's down in 9th, and Andrea Caldarelli's Lamborghini on slicks is down in 10th. The Bentley, actually, of those on the slicks, is working better than any other brand.
Yeah, Phil Keane struggling, although he's just got past James Baldwin. Slicks ahead of wets now then for 8th place overall. But yeah, Scott Malvern and Joe Osborne, in fairness, after he got roughed up at the start, did Joe, but he's now well and truly going with Scott Malvern. There is Phil Keane stuck right into the rear wing, or he was at least, of the 69 car.
There's number 9 McLaren stranded at the foot of the Craner curves. I don't think that's going anywhere. Andrea Caldarelli is a rather distant 10th now. As far as I can work out, Andrea Caldarelli, the first Italian to win a round of British GT. I'll stand corrected if anybody knows better, but I can't think of another Italian that's had a BGT win. As here now, Bentley on the attack. Up the inside goes Scott Malvern to go into second at the expense of Yelmer Berman, and Joe Osborne dives bombs the Mercedes and goes third. So at this sector where the slicks do work, Bentley and McLaren not only go ahead of the Mercedes, but absolutely storm through. Look at the gap they pull.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have to change the slick tyres at the stops, aren't they? The ones that are stuck on the wets right now. And I don't think it'll be long before these 2 cars are contesting the race lead, because they are clearly quicker than those around them. Back to GT4 now. 58 is running in 2nd place, Jordan Collard. 3rd place right behind him, Dan Vaughan. All of the GT4 cars, as far as we are aware, started on wet tyres, except for maybe those that came from the pit lane. So this is an equal battle out there. They're all on the same tyres, and the 58 car falling away at the moment from the Toyota. It doesn't look as quick as the cars all around it. In is Andrea Caldarelli then to hand over to Michael Igo. Now, no tyre change, or at least they're not going to go on to wet tyres here. They started on slicks anyway, and they're just finishing the driver change now. So race 1 winners, remember, 10-second success penalty for winning in GT3 in race 1. It's a 7-second penalty for 69 and 5 for number 6.
Leaders in, so together they were on the track, together they are in the pit lane. For Team Parker Racing, they're at pit in, so straight to the pit box. Midway down is Balfe, and almost at pit out is the AF Corsa Ferrari.
Yes, so this obviously no success penalties, so this should be a pretty equal stop. So in theory, they should go back out of the pit lane as they came in. Phil Keane is in to hand over to Adam Balance. The top 3 cars now in fact the top 6, because Caldarelli, Wilkinson and Matt Griffin are also in. So this is the completion, essentially, of the pit stop window now. All of the GT4 cars pretty much have made their way down the pit lane too. Out goes Michael Igo, but more or less a lap adrift of the race leaders by this point. Out also goes the 96 Optimum Motorsport car, started by Ollie Wilkinson, now taken over by Lewis Proctor.
There's an incident between 78 Lamborghini, 96 McLaren under investigation. That's the Collard Mitchell Lambo versus the Wilkinson and Proctor Jr. McLaren, so that's going to be looked at as down the pit road come the GT4 cars.
And Nick Jones as well, who maintains the lead and actually pulls away, I reckon, from Stuart Proctor.
Yeah, there is 21, which is still Ewan Hankey, doing a long stint in the GT4 McLaren before he gives way to Mia Flewitt. Down the pit road goes Adam Ballard now in the Barwell Lamborghini. So everybody's cycling through stops. Duncan Cameron back into the race, and we'll have a look at the order at the end of the next time everybody has been over the timing line. A 1-second stop-go penalty for car number 2 for being too short on the pit stop. So number 2, Michael O'Brien, is 1 second stop-go penalty for a short pit stop. And the evidence is there from the pit in to pit exit loops. Can't really argue with it. It's given to the race director, and the there it is, RJN McLaren is going to have to serve a stop-go penalty. That takes that effectively out of contention. Nick Jones then leads the way for the moment in the 66 Bentley.
We have been treated to some top quality racing today, haven't we, in both rounds of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship at Donington Park, and it ain't over yet. This is Adam Ballard. He's on the tail of Stuart Proctor for 2nd place overall. Proctor has hung on valiantly here Can he hold on for another 11 minutes? It's downfall, and around goes Michael Igoe, right in front of the McLarens. That was so close through the chicane. Michael Igoe from 4th position goes off the road. Through into 4th goes Jordan Witt. Through into 5th goes Lewis Proctor, and off as well goes Richard Neary. Is there fluid down? What's going on down at the chicane?
Well, there's certainly gravel on exit that Michael Igoe has brought onto the circuit. And Richard Neary, I think, possibly got it just wrong under braking, didn't he? He lost the back of the car. Nobody else is having the same problem. But now you've got gravel on the road and the stationary car. Peter Daly, the race director, will be watching all of this thinking, come on, Richard, fire it up, fire it up. Can you get going? Sometimes when the cars are hot, you have to sort of wait what seems like an agonisingly long amount of time. But that car is at a really risky point. So Adam Ballon then, having had that rallycross style moment on the gravel coming out of the S's, trying to clean the tyres, get back into contention. Has Richard Neary had another moment? He certainly lost track position there to the number 2 McLaren. So Richard Neary having a pretty busy time of it in these last few minutes. Over the line, Proctor to Ballon. 0.6 of a second now.
Yes, and where is Jordan Witt in all of this and Lewis Proctor? Because they weren't that far back, were they? They were catching too, but of course they were delayed by the spinning Richard Neary at the chicane. They're too far back, I think.
In GT4, you remember Mia Fluid was half a minute ahead. She's now 10.5 seconds. Chris Westmail's going to do this, isn't he? He's absolutely flying. Mia Fluid is still 4 seconds a lap slower than the HHC McLaren.
Chris Westmail turned 25 today. What a brilliant birthday present that would be. His first ever victory in the British GT Championship. Fight for second is still on though. Adam Ballon in the Lamborghini. The circuit at which Barwell have had such awful luck in recent years. Can they get a second place finish out of race number 2 here? They missed out on the podium in race number 1 with the 78 car that at one point we thought might win it. 72 though, as off again goes Ian Logie, about 100 metres or so further up the road, and through goes Ballon. A mistake this time from Stuart Proctor at Coppice. Ballon goes through into second place.
GT4 gap, 6.4 seconds then, flew it to Westmail, so it is on, as there is 72 Adam Ballon, the new second place driver, flicks through the chicane. 69 is Sam DeHaan, under attack from Michael O'Brien here. This is for position, this is for 8th and 9th, Mercedes versus McLaren. The car's twitching as the drivers apply the power. 8 minutes of the race remaining, down the hill they come. And while all this is going on, still Nick Jones is leading and looking for a maiden victory outright, a maiden victory in GT3. And Richard Neary is off the road again. Anything one green and black Mercedes can do, the other one can do just as well, can't it? Sam DeHaan still fends off the really Terry Michael O'Brien. Let's see what the McLaren's looking like as it comes out of Redgate. Nervous, twitchy is the answer, and again he's going to have a look up the inside. Oh no, you don't, says Sam DeHaan. Elbows out and he fends him off.
Yep, down through the Craner curves they come then, getting towards the end of this enthralling fourth round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Sam DeHaan in the Mercedes for Ram Racing, trying to salvage something from them in this race after the Ian Logie car has pulled into the pit lane and dropped down the order. Richard Neary in the pit lane, Ian Logie with a spin, wasn't it, earlier on? 69 though have picked their way through after a slightly slow start to the race, as Nick Jones, by the way, has just gone through onto that final lap. There he is going through Redgate Corner. An inspired decision to start this car on slicks, and then a great performance by Malvern to do better than everyone else that was on slick tyres and build the gap in the first part of the race.
Stuart Parker there can barely watch, just walking out of shot as he looks on. So great enthusiast, Stuart Parker, former racer himself, going back to Formula Vauxhall Junior days, and then he decided to go to team management and has done a great job. But on board with Michael O'Brien in the Bob Neville run McLaren, staring at the back of the Ram Racing Mercedes of Sam DeHaan. This is going to go down to the wire as well, isn't it? So Nick Jones then on his last lap, the clock has hit 0, but all these squabbles continue to the flag. That McLaren looks so twitchy, so nervous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really is struggling to get the power down, and I think had it not been for that, he probably would have been through. He gets close and then immediately starts to struggle. Now, is it raining? Is it raining at Coppice? Because Nick Jones had no grip then in the slick-shod Bentley going through the top right-hander. He only has to bring it over the line. He's 16 seconds clear of Adam Ballon, but look how slow he's going through the chicane.
I think he's just being ultra-cautious, isn't he? He is
maybe
on target for the biggest win of his life. And like I said, this is going to be the longest lap of his career. I think this is just Nick Jones being ultra-cautious and not braking too late, not putting the power down too early, and that's why he looks slow. The track conditions might be changing, but he's only got a corner to go. He was 16 seconds ahead at the start of the lap. He's going to be good for a win.
Yeah, into the final corner then. Team Parker Racing, who had a challenging 2019, are going to get back onto the top step of the podium. Nick Jones and Scott Malvern win round number 4 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Another thriller here from Donington Park, and what a victory that will be. Second place should go the way of Adam Ballon. This is for third place, Jordan Witt and Lewis Proctor. I don't think Lewis Proctor can get there. They almost caught Ballon by the end, but it will be the Barwell Lamborghini that comes home in second place. Jordan Witt and 2Cs Motorsport back on the podium again, despite a troubled day up until this point. And fourth place for Lewis Proctor, not quite the birthday podium. His father Stuart, though, well, will he come home in fifth? Because that man there, Rob Collard, was only 5 seconds behind at the start of the lap. He's just going to hang on, though. So through will go Stuart Proctor in fifth, Rob Collard in sixth. A solid day for the 78 car that hasn't, I would say, delivered the results that maybe they deserved. Seventh place should go to WPI Motorsport, the race 1 winners, and then the 69 Ram Racing Mercedes, if it keeps Michael O'Brien behind to the flag, will hold on to 8th position. In GT4, by the way, it is the win for, or will be the win anyway. Everyone else in GT4 a lap behind. They've actually taken the checkered flag already, but Chris Westmail in the number 57 HHC McLaren that he shares with Gus Bowers. Bowers did a good stint on slick tyres at the start of the race, and Westmail took over, worked his way onto the tail of and then ahead of Mia Fluitt's Balf Motorsport McLaren to take the race lead. And HHC are going to take a race victory here in round number 4 of the championship in GT4. Across the start finish line they go, and HHC Motorsport take their first victory of 2020. Here is the result then of round number 4 of the championship. Scott Malvern and Nick Jones, a popular win for Team Parker Racing's Bentley. It's a car that's popular with the spectators, and plenty of them here to watch the action at Donington Park. Phil Keane and Adam Ballon get a podium at Donington Park. Not something that we've been able to say all that often in the past for Barwell, with Jordan Witt and Jack Mitchell third. 3 different teams on the podium, 3 different cars as well, Bentley, Lamborghini and McLaren. It's another pair of McLarens behind though. Ollie Wilkinson and Lewis Proctor for Optimum Motorsport are 4th, with Stuart Proctor and Joe Osborne, one of the stars of the show as well in the first stint was Joe, 5th place for them. Sandy Mitchell and Rob Collard are 6th for Barwell. Andrea Caldarelli and Michael Igo 7th for WPI Motorsport, a solid day after their win earlier on, with Patrick Kuyala and Sam Dehaan hanging on to that 8th place just about by 0.3 of a second over Michael O'Brien and James Baldwin's McLaren in 9th. Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin had a pretty anonymous race in fairness to 10th. Ian Logie was not anonymous though. He had a couple of spins out on track, with Yelmer Berman having done a solid first stint on the wrong tyre, really, the wet tyre on the dry track. Then we get our GT4 winners, Gus Bowers and Chris Westmail. That will mean the world to the drivers and to the team as well after a bit of a dry spell as far as wins are concerned at the start of the season. Ewan Hankey and Mia Fluitt though, a win last time at Alton, 2nd place here at Donington Park. They are a bit of a dark horse, I'd say, for the GT4 Championship for Balf Motorsport. Patrick Mathiasen and Jordan Collard, as David said, make it 2 HHC McLarens on the GT4 podium, while Sam Smelt and James Kelly, it's not quite a repeat podium for the Toyota, but another good 4th place finish for Speedworks. Dan Vaughan and Jamie Caroline for TF Sport are 5th in GT4. Matt Cowley and Jordan Alberts, Academy Motorsport Ford Mustang, just outside the top 5, ahead of the Century Motorsport BMW, the Aston Martin, the second TF Sport Aston Martin of Kibble and O'Brien, then the Century BMW of Gordon Colebrook and Ben Hurst, with Sam Neary and Richard Neary into the pit lane to retirement towards the end, and of course Dean McDonald and Angus Fender 7 laps down after their early dramas.
Nick, you did it. You did it. That was...
Yes! Do that.
Well done, guys. I can see what this means to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you started this weekend not too optimistic. The weather, you said yourself, wasn't the strongest for the Bentley.
Yeah.
Obviously, you took a bit of a gamble, as you said yourself. You threw the dice with the tyre selection.
I didn't make it throw the dice. He threw the dice.
Well,
So,
it paid off.
Yeah,
it paid off.
of course. And Scott did a mega stint, and you can't fault that. And I need to work out what the buttons do on the steering wheel, because they were telling me to do the TC and I was doing the ABS. So I learned in the end, because they kept on saying the same thing. So no, it was a mega race. I don't know what it was like, but I don't know what my pace was like, but it was pretty slippery out there. So
Nick, I think you did really well from us watching and watching in. Just to keep it on the black stuff looked like a huge challenge.
Yeah.
I thought you did an exceptional drive.
Thanks, Kelvin.
You must be so proud of yourself and every right to.
yeah, no,
Scott,
that's sunk in, but yeah, no, really, really pleased. Well done for me.
Scott, how was that for you? You must have been on 10 sucks watching those last few minutes.
Yeah, it was agony, I got to tell you. But I know Nick. He's fully in control most of the time. I know he would want to do it for the team. So, I'm sure he was in control. It was, loads of people you know, it was obviously tricky out there because a lot of people were going off. But, you know, he brought it home. Pace was very good. Actually built a lead rather than, you know, didn't drop into the clutches. We kept building. So, you know, and he just brought it home. Mega job. Absolutely mega job.
Well deserved, guys. And great to see the Bentley up there. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, mate. I'm here with the winners of GT4. Like the guys who won GT3, took a gamble with the slicks. Obviously, it paid off.
Yeah, so went out on the out lap and I rated in. I thought, you know what, I think this could be slicks. Did it. First few laps were horrible, but after that, heat came into the tyres, circuit was dry, and off we went. So it was great.
It was great to see, because early on, obviously, the car it seemed to be nowhere, and he just climbed up. And then towards the end of the race, you were just there, and I think it was Mia who was leading, actually, and she was like 30-something seconds ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you just saw the time you was taking out, and obviously to finish it in the style you did, in the fashion you did, I thought was absolutely exceptional. You must have been so pumped.
Oh, I was loving it out there. The team took the gamble, put new slicks on as well in the stop. It was just full charge mode from there, really, and see what we could do, and it's great fun. Charging the car down, seeing it on exits, it was great fun out there.
Thank you for joining us here at Donington Park. We've been treated to 2 fantastic races. We'll see you again next time.